Hi, y'all. Live from the cave once again. That's a total lie. I'm not live at all. This is pre recorded. It's cool. I'm live. I'm alive. I'm in my cave. I play cave in my cave. So, what some of you may know and some of you may not is that I have been doing 1 year of shmups. I decided I wanted to play. I wanted to gain a little bit more skill at scrolling shooters, and because I enjoy them a lot, but I felt like I wasn't really at a level where I could enjoy most of the genre to the extent that I wanted to, because I didn't have the skills. These games are very tough. They were smacking me down a bit, so I decided that I would take a year this year. I would make it the year of shmups, and I would play. I play basically almost every day. I play 6 days a week for 25 to 60 minutes, around there. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes I miss a day, but actually I've been pretty consistent because I enjoy doing it. It hasn't been any kind of a burden on me. I don't ever wake up or like get to shmup time and be like, oh man, I gotta play a shmup. This is terrible. I really just wanna, veg out or whatever. Nah. I do it during my toddler's nap time, so it's always a good break. I take a short nap myself, and then I come down and play, and it's a nice break in my day. So I guess I should. Where I was at, I think when I started. So this is the 6 months videos. I'm halfway through. I technically started a little bit before the new year, but we just got to July, so that's 6 months down. A couple days into July, so basically halfway through. Where I was at before I started, to give you some idea of what my skill level was. I was basically my biggest clears, I would say, would be like Mushehime Sama Futari Black Label Original, Eschatos Normal, and like Mushehime Sama Original. If you can't tell, I'm trying to block out the light a little bit with my massive hair. So yeah, I would say I was at like a very, I was able to clear some of the easier cave games. I've also cleared Death Smiles 1 and 2, but they're not as hard as those other games. So that's basically where I was at. I was at a point where, it would be very infrequent for me to clear a game. Like if you asked me what's the last game you cleared, I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember it, blah blah blah. So I wanted to spend more time on the genre. The noise up there. Spend a lot more time on the genre and kind of build up my skills a bit. And so, yeah, almost every day except my break day. I do 1 week my main game Futari, then I do the next week any alternate game that I want. I decided around the time that I started, like I made myself a little like progress, like a goal list. I don't really keep myself to goals. I don't really like try and punish myself with goals. For me, like a goal is just some kind of like nice idea. So before I started, I tried to figure out like, okay, at the end of the year, if I looked back, like what would I consider like a satisfying result? And I decided to tie my results to my main game, Mushehime Sama Futari. I thought maybe about like writing like deciding on like a number of 1cc's that would be good. Like if I said like, oh, like 10 1cc's in the year, that would be good. But I decided not to do that because I wanted to keep my alternate game week kind of like expectationless. And also, if you are trying to reach a certain number, I feel like you're just rushing through. Like, I didn't want to be rushing through and be like, okay, I got the 1cc, move on to next one, next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. Like, I got to reach the next plateau. Like, that for me is not, that's not like an enjoyable or a smart way to go about this. So I tied it all to my main game, which I would be kind of playing in a sequential fashion anyways. And basically my thought going in was like, I'm going to focus mostly on clears because I want to like gradually increase the difficulty, because what I want is to, I want to gain fundamental skill. I feel like I'm pretty okay at scoring in games if I can survive in games. So I wanted to focus on survival and gaining that, that raw fundamental skill so that I could then go back and the games themselves would feel a little bit easier and I could score them a little bit harder in the event of scoring. But so my like progress, my like goal list of what I would consider a good result at the end of the year, I based it all on Mushihime Sama Futari. Like I said before, I had previously only cleared Futari Black Label Original. Now, to give you some perspective, I've had Futari since it released in 2009, so I've had this game for probably like 13 years. I probably got the Black Label Original clear within 2 years of owning it. And I didn't really make progress in any of the other modes since then. I think it's more of a case of just not applying myself to it, rather than being like overwhelmingly difficult, at least the next one up. But yeah, Black Label Original, the only one I cleared. So my goal list was, and like these are basically the difficulty modes, like laddered up through Futari. So if I could beat version 1.5 original, which is the next one up after Black Label Original, if I could beat version 1.5 original by the end of the year, I'd consider that an okay result. I could be happy with that, considering I hadn't done that in 13 years of owning the game, right? So I should be happy with that result if I could do that in a year. If I could beat Black Label Maniac within the year, I would consider that a good result. If I could beat 1.5 Maniac, I would consider that a great result. If I could beat God Mode within the year, I would consider that an unbelievable result. And if I could clear Ultra Mode within the year, I consider that basically an impossible result. I just wrote impossible on my page. If that happened, I would be overjoyed, but I have zero expectation of that because that is an incredibly hard mode, and going from basically the bottom to the top in a year, I consider that absurd. If it happened, that would be great. But so where am I at now? 6 months in, I have gotten the 1 credit clear of 1.5 original. So I got the okay result. Nice. I've gotten the clear of Black Label Maniac, which was the good result. Nice. Right now, I'm working on the clear of 1.5 Maniac, which is the great result. So I'm halfway through the year and I'm already working on great. I'm pretty confident I can get the 1.5 Maniac clear and at least start working on God Mode this year. That's what I'm hopeful for. And if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, I would think that was again, a great result if I can get the 1.5 Maniac clear, and I don't mean that in some kind of like small way. I think that would be actually quite incredible from the perspective I was at. So right now, that's what I'm working on. This is Futari week for me. I've got my little sheet that I'm working on. 1.5 Maniac. I think it's probably going to take more practice than this because it is quite a step up from Black Label Maniac. The 1.5 modes are always a much bigger step up than it is going from 1.5 to the next mode in Black Label. Right now, I'm also working on clearing Gradius 2. We'll see if I can get that clear. I think it's doable, but I think it's like very backloaded on the final stage. Like even within the first couple tries of playing the game, I could reach the final stage, but the final stage is a large portion of the difficulty, and there's not much margin for error, at least in the beginning of the stage, because it's, most of the game I actually don't think has Gradius syndrome very hard, where you die and you can't recover. I've died earlier in the game and I've recovered even on some pretty tough levels. Like I recovered on the Moai stage, which has like a ridiculous ton of bullets, and I've recovered on the like late game boss rush and managed to beat them, because if you have auto fire, like that's not, it's tough and it takes a little time, but it's doable. But the final stage is, if you die during the first checkpoint area, I feel like that's pretty much it. So that is tough, but also the Spider Walker took a lot of practice. Now, if I couldn't, I have the PC Engine Mini, so I'm able to save state practice it. That, I think, will be the thing that makes it for me. But I'm working on Gradius 2. I'm working on my Futari clear. I think for the second half of the year, I'm gonna try and up my alternate game difficulty just a little bit, because I tried really hard to focus on some easier games in the first half, like I did Star Parodier and Blazing Lasers and like Final Soldier. Superstar Soldier's not really that easy, but I did that. I did Cotton Reboot. Not Cotton Reboot. I think I beat that beforehand. Cotton Rock and Roll. Sisters Royale. I did all the characters on easy, and I did a couple of the characters on normal. Again, depending on where you're at, maybe those are tough for you, or maybe those are easy for you. I've heard people say Gradius 2 is like a very reasonable clear. I think, the beginning's within the reason, and the last level is pretty freaking hard for me. But yeah, that's where I'm at. If you want me to assess it again, confidence is high. I think it's for my own perspective, I think where I'm at right now is great. If I had ended the year with where I'm at right now, I think that would have been perfectly fine by me. And I'm looking forward to what the next 6 months hold. Like I said, it hasn't been a chore at all. I've enjoyed it. It's just been a great part of my day, and I can see myself, making progress at a hobby that I enjoy. If you want to try something like this out, go ahead. I'm going to be posting, making videos more about it, kind of about my methodology. If you watch the video on Shmuptopia with my Professor Sterney interview, I think you'll have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. Yeah. Here's to 6 more months. Peace.